Former President Donald Trump's recent visit to a McDonald's in Feasterville, Pennsylvania, wasn't just about flipping burgers and handing out fries. It was a calculated political move, steeped in both personal nostalgia and a continuation of his ongoing rivalry with Vice President Kamala Harris. As crowds gathered outside the fast food establishment on Street Road, the scene became a testament to Trump's enduring magnetism with his base, even as he faced the complex challenges of returning to the national stage. For Trump, McDonald's has always represented more than just a meal. The iconic golden arches have long symbolized his populist appeal, a connection to everyday Americans and a stark contrast to the so-called elite political class. His affection for the fast food chain goes back decades, frequently making headlines throughout his political career. So when he stepped behind the counter on Sunday, it wasn't merely a publicity stunt, it was a declaration of his alignment with the common people, a point he's always tried to emphasize, even against critics who argue that his billionaire status makes him out of touch. The decision to stop at McDonald's in Pennsylvania, a state critical in the electoral battleground map, came with its own sense of strategic timing. Pennsylvania, with its significant cache of electoral college votes, is a prize that any presidential hopeful cannot afford to overlook. Trump's visit, however, wasn't just about securing votes. It was also an opportunity to needle Harris over her claims of working at a McDonald's in the 1980s. This back and forth between the two political giants reveals not just a moment of rivalry, but an underlying battle over authenticity, which has become a cornerstone of modern political campaigns. Trump's jabs at Harris, accusing her of embellishing her work history, struck a nerve. For Harris, the story of working at McDonald's was meant to highlight her working-class roots, a narrative she's employed to show she understands the struggles of everyday Americans. But Trump, never one to shy away from questioning the authenticity of his rivals, turned this anecdote into a political weapon, casting doubt over her claim and framing it as yet another example of the alleged dishonesty of the political establishment. His reference to Harris's supposed stint at McDonald's on Central Avenue in Alameda, California, in 1983 was more than a humorous quip. It was a tactic designed to chip away at her credibility. In today's political landscape, where image and personal storylines matter as much as policies, Trump knows that questioning his rivals' authenticity can be as effective as challenging their ideas. Harris, for her part, has reiterated that she did indeed work at the fast food chain during the summer between her freshman and sophomore years at Howard University, operating the fry station and cash register. But Trump, ever the showman, took the opportunity to turn the tables on Harris, emphasizing the lack of documented proof of her employment at the McDonald's in question. His allies have jumped on this discrepancy, pointing out that her 1987 resume didn't mention the stint. While such a gap might seem trivial in another context for Trump's base, it serves as further evidence of the political dishonesty they feel is rampant in Washington. It also connects to a larger theme Trump has often touched on, the idea that career politicians, particularly his opponents, cannot be trusted to tell the truth. This isn't the first time that biographical claims from high-profile politicians have come under scrutiny. Just last year, vice presidential hopeful Tim Walz faced significant backlash when it was revealed he had embellished parts of his biography. In an age of fact-checking and internet sleuthing, any perceived inconsistency can become a political liability, and Trump knows how to exploit such weaknesses. Whether or not Harris's McDonald's story is entirely true may be less important than the fact that Trump can use it to bolster his own narrative. The Sunday visit also reflected Trump's long-standing relationship with McDonald's, a brand that he's often associated with his personal tastes and image. His love for fast food, particularly McDonald's, has been well documented over the years. He famously hosted the Clemson Tigers college football team at the White House in 2019 during a government shutdown, where he served hundreds of burgers from McDonald's, as well as fries and other items. That moment, with piles of Big Macs and Quarter Pounders stacked high on silver platters in the state dining room, encapsulated Trump's approach to politics, simultaneously grandiose and rooted in populist symbolism. Even in the midst of crises, Trump has managed to tie McDonald's into his political narrative. Last year, for example, he made headlines when he stopped by a McDonald's in East Palestine, Ohio, following a toxic chemical spill. The visit, intended to highlight his concern for the working-class residents affected by the disaster, was yet another demonstration of how McDonald's has become an integral part of his public persona. His son, Donald Trump Jr., even quipped that his father knew the McDonald's menu better than Kamala Harris ever did. Trump's calculated use of McDonald's as a backdrop for his political campaigns is more than just an attempt to humanize himself. It's a deliberate tactic to reinforce his connection with the everyman, positioning himself as someone who understands the values and concerns of Middle America. For his supporters, seeing Trump behind the counter at McDonald's wasn't just a gimmick. It was proof that their leader, despite his wealth and status, shares their values and experiences. This sentiment was echoed by Caitlin Hanlon, a 33-year-old hairdresser from Feasterville, who donned a pink MAGA hat as she waited for her order. "Love him or hate him, I just feel it's really cool to see this moment in history," Hanlon said. "It's a really cool moment, but I obviously support him." For Trump's detractors, the visit to McDonald's was another instance of the former president using populist imagery to distract from his controversial record and ongoing legal battles. But to his core supporters, the visit wasn't about policy or politics, it was about identity. Trump's love for fast food, particularly McDonald's, has become emblematic of his outsider status in Washington, a symbol of his refusal to conform to the norms of the political elite. Pennsylvania, where Trump made this latest McDonald's stop, holds significant weight in any national election. As one of the largest battleground states, its 20 electoral college votes could be the difference between victory and defeat in the next presidential race. Trump's decision to make a high-profile appearance in Feasterville was, in many ways, a nod to the state's importance in his electoral calculus. But it was also a reminder of the deep divisions that persist in American politics. While some patrons at the McDonald's seemed more interested in meeting Trump than in making a political statement, others were clearly motivated by their support for the former president and his message. "I'll just take whatever he gives me," one man told reporters, suggesting that for many of Trump's supporters, policy details take a back seat to their personal connection with the man himself. Harris, meanwhile, has responded to Trump's taunts with a mixture of defiance and frustration. Her campaign has repeatedly pointed out that Trump's claims about her McDonald's experience are baseless, part of a broader effort to undermine her credibility. In a recent interview with MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle, Harris emphasized that her time at McDonald's was a formative experience, one that shaped her understanding of the challenges facing working-class Americans. "Part of the reason I even talk about having worked at McDonald's is because there are people who work at McDonald's in our country who are trying to raise a family," Harris said. "I worked there as a student." For Harris, the McDonald's story is more than just a personal anecdote. It's a way to connect with voters and demonstrate that she understands their struggles. But for Trump, it's an opportunity to sow doubt and paint Harris as out of touch with the realities of working-class life.